Stop the nonsense. Stop the nonsense. Stop the nonsense. Teach the truth. Teach the truth. When you get the name right, it really helps. Stop the nonsense. When you get the name right, it really helps. Stop the nonsense. Teach the truth. Teach the truth. These are the 10 Commandments. These are the 10 Commandments. These are the 10 Commandments. Stop the nonsense. Teach the truth. Teach the truth. These are the 10 Commandments. These are the 10 Commandments. These are the 10 Commandments. Stop the nonsense. Teach the truth. Teach the truth. Yahusha said, love one another.
Hey, good morning, brother. How you going?
Good morning.
We've got a wonderful connection this morning.
That's great. Hey.
Morning, sister.
Hey,
There she is.
how you doing, brother? It's so good to see you.
Yeah, you too. Wow. From one side of the world to the other.
And
Yeah.
Just like
you know
that.
what amazes me is that you can send me a text, and I mean it's probably instantaneous, just like right across the world.
Yeah. On your phone.
Yeah, that's much better texting, because when it's emails, you might get a response like a day later, or when you're texting, it's just like stepping straight into someone's life. G'day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's the way when you get a text, it's like, oh, this is coming from across the world. This is, my brother contacted me.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
It's even better when you forget about the time gap and it's in the middle of the night. Yeah.
Right.
No.
But it's 2:00 here and it's 5:00 there, right?
Yeah, 5 in the morning here and on Sunday, and 2 in the afternoon.
And then
So
on Sabbath. I know, 2 different days.
that's ridiculous.
Well, Yahuwah just creates lots of miracles for us.
Yeah. Isn't it fantastic? How are you all going?
Well, Phyllis went through the donut.
What does that mean?
Oh, I had a PET scan.
Yeah. Full body. Yeah.
So
they can find it all.
Yeah.
it was the most relaxing time I ever had in my life. They had me sit in the dark room for 45 minutes, waiting for the sugar to find the cancer cells. Yeah. And then I laid down on the table and I had to lay there for 30 minutes. I'm telling you, I should be paying them for the rest time.
Oh, you are. Don't worry.
Oh, yeah, we are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, but I know everything's going to be good.
Yeah.
Yahusha is going to perform a miracle, and we're all going to be blessed by it.
Yeah.
He came to visit her just half an hour ago or so. She felt all this joy.
Yeah. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how are you doing, and the children and Amy?
Yeah, everybody's great. Amy's 31 weeks pregnant now, so it's coming towards the end. We've had a full-on week this week. We've had 2 of our staff leave, and just because they changed their mind, they don't want to do hairdressing anymore. And, and we're trying to build, so it's like that was a bit of a blow. And then we realised after a while that, hey, well, that's two wages we don't have to pay, and we might as well have people around us that really, really like it and want to do it. And so Amy's going to come in a bit more, and we've got another young girl we're going to put on full time, and so we're just going to do something different. And next year we're going to renovate the salon a little bit and put a beauty room in, and so Amy and I can work it together, which is what we always wanted to do anyway. instead of paying all these other people who don't really want to be there. So we, what seemed to be a big, what's going on here? It's all falling apart. Ended up being towards the end of the week, it ended up being I think this is going to be better. So we could see Yahusha in it.
Don't you see that happening a lot? Just when things are, you think they're really, really terrible, and then you remember that his ways are not your ways, and that he has got a plan for us that is so beyond what we can imagine. And just when we think we're in the middle of some horrific thing that we can barely stand, then he comes in and shows you what he was working through that.
Yeah.
Because he's always with us, and it really, really is true that all things work for the good. Help me with it, Lew.
Things
work for the good of those
all things
who
work together for the good of those who love Yahusha and are called according to his purpose. Yeah. But one of the things that people don't realize is when they're reading scripture, a lot of these people that are mentioned in there are just pop in and did one thing, but they actually lived an entire lifespan. But the only thing that got recorded was what their purpose was, where Yahusha used them for a purpose. And but they had full lives, so but just one thing popped in and got a mention. Yeah. But maybe we'll be I don't know, in some way used as a vessel of his. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, he certainly seems to be blessing you, Mark, and I'm so glad.
Well, yeah. It's definitely a process. You feel his hand on you, and you can definitely feel that he's doing something. Like he won't, not in a bad way. He won't leave us alone. He won't let us have just can't we just have a normal week? Can't we just can't we just pay our bills and get what we got to get done? No, can't you see I'm trying to get this together here and and all these stupid complaints. And you realise that Lew said a few times that the three things in life, the pride of life, the lust of the eyes, all those three things, they get in the way. You just think it's our plans, we want to get ahead, we want to. Why won't you? It's not
what he wants. Yeah,
that's right. And in the what is it, on the side or in front of everything, he is sort of way up, looking at the whole picture, going, "It's okay, just flow with me." I know how this is going to end.
We just want things to go smooth, don't we?
Yeah.
The best thing we can do is just encourage someone else in a day, if we can, to help them get through a better day. We don't want to wake up and cause harm to someone.
Yeah. So it's been a full-on week, but it was good. Yeah. Good at the end. We realised that Yahusha's in there, and don't listen to the negative thoughts. Listen to what Yahusha's saying to us. Because for every thought he gives us, there's like 100 other negative things whispering in your ear, and we've had to learn the difference. No, I'll hold on to that thought. That sounds positive. That sounds like him. Or is that just me making an excuse? No, I think that's him. I'll believe that. I'll and let's see if it is him. And then you hear that there's confirmation, and you go, okay, yeah, great. That was Yahusha. And you're starting to learn his voice a bit better, what his voice sounds like. So it's very important.
Every thought captive. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mark, because I recently experienced something like that. I've always been kind of jealous, I guess, of other people who say I heard his voice or he told me this, and I'm like, how do you know when he's talking to you? And just like you said, it was just like that. You almost had to listen, then test it, and then find out, that really was him talking. It's a trial and error, isn't it? To know when you're hearing his voice, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did you?
Well, I think a lot of it is kind of like a bluff. It's like you step in there and go, I believe I've heard his voice. And a few weeks later, it might just go pear-shaped, and you realise, no, that wasn't his voice. And so, but you've got the confidence to start with to say, okay, well, rather than being in a depressed indecision, which is where I've been most of the time, you stand on a thought and you go, okay, well, I'm going to believe that was Yahusha, and let's see if it was. So I think a lot of the people who say they've heard Yahusha's voice are just stepping out in confidence, and maybe they'll be wrong, maybe they won't. But I think what I was always taught was, if you don't step in there and have an experience, you learn nothing. If you hold back and don't communicate or don't even try, you learn nothing. You don't. At least if you were wrong, you go, okay, well, yeah, I was wrong. That wasn't his voice. That was my plan. But at least you've had an experience with him. That was what I was sort of always encouraged to not hold back and be gutless and that sort of thing. But yeah,
that's the goat thoughts. The goat's thinking, I'm going to do what I want to do, but the shepherd is saying, be a sheep.
Yeah.
Don't be a goat. Be submissive and and listen to my voice. But the false shepherds are out there too, guiding a lot of people.
Yeah. They're just thoughts. They're just thoughts. I think a lot of people who say, "I heard Yahusha tell me this." Well, it wasn't a massive divine encounter. It was you're just filtering hundreds of thoughts all the time and picking out the ones that you think are Yahusha. I think those who say, "I heard Yahusha's voice," are simply disciplined enough to give him credit for them, instead of just saying, someone, instead of just saying, I thought to give you a call today. Instead of saying that, they'll say, well, Yahusha told me to give you a call today. Like they're including him. I think a lot of it's just...
That's an excellent point, Mark. At least they are, like you said, acknowledging him. Because he says, acknowledge Yahuwah in all your ways, and he will direct your path.
Yeah.
So that's an excellent point. I like that.
Yeah.
Because every time we'd come along and we'd go, oh, I did this or I did that, or someone would always say to me, who? Who gave you that thought? Who? Of ourselves, we're just nothing. Anything we hold up to Yahusha and go, look what I did, it's just filthy rags. It's just, without him, we're nothing. So I think a lot of people who say they heard from Yahusha are just giving him the credit that it's due. So it's not a huge. Why can't I be in that situation? Why aren't I as spiritual, or why aren't I as further along as other people? I think it's simply what we're going to talk about today. I think belief. He says, come boldly into the throne room. Come boldly. Just have it. Just have it. Everybody's at different levels and different maturities and different stages, but just come to me. I'm here. I'm here. Come to me. If you don't believe you can come to me, that's your problem. You don't believe it. You don't believe that I'm there, so you don't get it. Just come. Just have it. You don't have to go. You don't have to pay penance or anything. Just come and have it. Enter into the throne room. And we often hear so many negative thoughts like, oh, he doesn't love me anymore. Look what I've been. Look what I've done. And you just go, like, it's like shameful. And yet you look at your own children and go, I wouldn't ever want my children to feel like that, no matter what they did. And how much he's just amazing. So I'm prattling on here.
Oh no, I love it, Mark, because I have to counsel people sometimes that have that same identity, and you're giving me good ideas for how to help them.
Yeah.
I'm loving this. I really need to be hearing what you're saying.
It's the object of what we trust in. If we're trusting in what we think is a good idea or good behavior, we're trusting in the wrong thing. We need to trust in him and let him lead us. Yeah.
Because we're still in a system that, even though we're Nazarene, a majority of Nazarene have come out of either a Jewish mindset or a Christian mindset, which is very religious, and then they come into a Messianic thing, which is religious again, and then they come into Yahusha. They've still got this religious thing in them where everybody's sort of trying to be better than everybody else, and so a lot of people do come along and say, I heard from Yahusha, and and it makes the other people, feel like nothing. And so you just got to realize everybody can hear from Yahusha. Even people who aren't immersed can hear from Yahusha. They just don't know it's him. You could be reading a newspaper and he'll tell you something. It doesn't even have to be scripture sometimes. You could be reading anything and he'll just tap you on the shoulder and talk to you, and you don't, but we just think it's thoughts. So, and we're not trained to tune in because we've got so much clutter in our lives. So, people need to understand that everybody can hear from Yahusha. You don't have to be, the further you go, the stronger the relationship, like any relationship. But, people are always trying to have something on everybody else, and it's not where it's at. Yahusha came for the stupid people. Look at me.
Yeah, look at me. Oh my.
Yeah. Do you counsel lots of people, sister?
Well, it comes and goes. Sometimes, there'll be 2 or 3 in a week, and then sometimes I'll go for weeks without hearing from anybody. But it's heart rendering sometimes. I think I've said this before. Women whose husbands don't believe, I have to help them and encourage them to keep obeying their husband. And nobody wants to hear that. I notice when I put something like that on Facebook, obey your husband, nobody wants to respond, or nobody likes that. Nobody will like it.
I hear it.
You can hear crickets.
But, no, it's very unpopular these days. But that's the saddest thing, when the woman's a believer and her husband is not. It's also sad when I talk to a man and he said his wife just won't hear it, and sometimes the wife even wants to throw him out of the house because of it, the truth, and it's hard, and I just sometimes listen and let Yahusha talk through me. I hope I'm listening correctly, like you said. I'm just trusting that he's guiding me.
Yeah. Wow. So people don't realize that you guys are kind of at the hub of it, because you've been around producing things for so many years. That's and having seminars and everything, that people are still ringing and emailing, and your inbox must be chock-a-block every day.
Right. And sometimes people get frustrated with us because we can't get back with them real quick, but nobody knows just how overloaded we are with emails and letters and phone calls.
That's okay.
It's fine, but if we're just a little bit late getting back, we try to get back to everybody. But, sometimes, it's a little bit delayed. And I don't want anybody to feel frustrated or think that we don't care. We do. We care very much.
Well, we've been honed down to just 2 people.
Yeah, it's just us. Yeah.
That seems to be a popular trait. You should just moving with the husband and wife.
2
by 2.
Removing all the roughage and working with the husband and wife.
He's got our backs, though.
Oh, we're really blessed to have this together. We really are.
Oh, yeah.
I better let you all get on to whatever you're going to talk about. It's wonderful talking to you.
This is Torah Talk in itself, sister. Don't worry.
All right. I love you.
Yeah, it's lovely chatting.
Okay. Thanks for staying so long. Well, hey. So, Mark, did you get the email that I just sent with the new updated version?
Did you send one just now?
No, about 15 minutes ago.
Oh, I haven't checked the email, sorry.
Oh,
I read the one you sent last night. That was really good.
Yeah, that's PDF.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I added he woke me up in the middle of the night and gave me a few more things to include. So I just sort of typed those into the mix,
Yeah.
Um,
Very important subject. It's kind of at the foundation of it all.
Yeah, the foundation that Christians are taught is different from the foundation that the Nazarene actually are supposed to be behaving in. The word that we have for belief is not known. They think it's an intellectual thing, and it's not intellectual. It's Amuna is the real Hebrew word, and it's got a root, amun, which means something that's firm or steady. And in fact, in 2 Peter, 2 Kepha, chapter 3, he talks about being steadfast, and not listen to the false teachers who are twisting Scripture to their own destruction. And if we do, we'll fall from our steadfastness, which is the subject of our belief, which is belief in practice, belief in action. That's what it really means. People don't know this. But just to say belief in the English idea of it and the Greek mindset is just an intellectual process. It's not action, but that's really what it refers to. Man.
Yeah, they love to quote John 3:16 at you, don't they? They all know it off by heart. But yeah, Jesus so loved the world and he gave his only begotten. Whoever believes, believe. I believed, so I'm right. So do demons, mate.
Well, even demons believe,
yeah,
but they don't act. They don't believe, in the sense of the Hebrew, aman or amuna. Let me see if I've got it here. Yeah, here's if we were to put it in English, it would be aman. That's the root, and the word is amuna. It's acting in belief. It's action, So, but there it is.
Oh, we received the new plastic Resoras the other day. Beautiful.
Oh yes, it
deluxe
feels like
version.
leather.
Deluxe version.
Yeah, these babies feel like leather, don't they? The actual texture, and it's stitched around here just like leather. It must be really serious, but you know what? Leather is going to wear out and get crinkly and cracked, and this is flexible without getting messed up. It's not skin. It's not animal skin.
It's a serious book. You feel like you're reading a serious scriptures when you read that one. That's not just a paperback. You feel like you're reading an old King James when you read that. The paper, the thin paper.
You're talking about the quality. Yeah,
the quality. It's very, and the words are amazing too. Like all the Torah is now spelt with a U. Is it? That's good.
Torah. In this version, I spelled it with a U in the English, but as he filters things into more refinement, I think we should probably lean into the more accurate, and Musha instead of Mo.
Yeah, Musha. It's not.
Hey, Musha. Musha.
Musha and Yusuf, and there's U's everywhere. It's just U's flying.
Hey, there's a basket coming down the river here. Musha, that basket. Musha. Draw it out.
Yeah. Yeah. So Musha means drawn out. Okay, I'm with you now. Wow.
Like you've heard the word mush. When they're doing with the dog sled.
Yeah.
Mush. I don't think it's the same thing, but it means something. Let's get this thing going. It's action. Let's be whatever you're believing. Let's put it into action. That's what James or Yaakov was saying. That belief without action or works is dead. It's dead. It's without life. It's there's no life to this. If you're not acting on it. What we're talking about here today is trust, acting in belief, and the Hebrew word is amuna, amunah. A lot of times it's spelled with an e, emuna, but the correct letter is now understood more accurately as an a. But how should we live, and whose purposes do we serve by the way we live? If our behavior is not reflecting what our master or our owner told us to do, then we're obeying someone other than our master. And every moment, each of us finds ourselves in a life and death situation. Believe it or not, it's just like we were Kepha or Peter out on the sea, walking on the water with Yahusha. and we take our eyes off of him and we look at the surrounding storm. And then we start to sink because we took our eyes off the object of our trust. And that's what happens to us in a nutshell. It's so simple. But we're not focused on him. We're focused on other things, and then we start to sink. And we know it. But that's the life and death thing. We're in it for the either we're fully committed or we're going to sink. Because these circumstances we find ourselves in, we sometimes tend to block out the reality because it's so serious. I mean, we're mortal. Finding contentment and peace and purpose for our living should be entirely focused on learning the will of our shepherd. That's Yahusha. What is his will? And then we're going to be in a completely different place because we understand that there's a purpose for us being here, even if it's just obey him no matter what. Every single hour that passes on the planet, 6,390 people die every hour on this planet. And the probability that you and I will die one of those days is 100%. We're not going to have a probability of dying below 100%. We're going to die unless he comes back while we're alive. But we should live each day as if it is our last. And our words and our action toward each other should always be uplifting and always without discouragement. We should live each day as if it is our last. And our words and our action toward each other should always be uplifting and always without discouragement. So they're either words of life or they're words of death that we speak. And a lot of times people are typing words of death, Someone we will meet today needs our encouragement. And what people don't realize is that witchcraft, the concept, is any kind of rebellious behavior. In what follows, we're going to show that everything that is practiced is witchcraft to Yahuwah. People are trained from childhood to see common traditions as something different than they really are. They're trained to disregard Torah. When we obey Torah, we're trained to think of obedience as what completes or fulfills the objective of Torah. Torah's instructions. And if we live and act out our belief, it's called emunah. And it means to be steadfast and firm. And it's in our action. But belief without action is dead and empty of life. That's what Yaakov or James 2, chapter 2 says. And Nazarene are steady in their behavior. That means they're emunah. Our emunah is in our behavior. It's seen, it's steady. Now, Christianity, though, as we remember being in that system, is off balance. It's not steady. I think everybody would realize that even as the Christian, that they're not steady, especially Catholics, because they're running around, going around from sacrament to the priest to get the sacrament. And that's not in Scripture. That's something that's completely from outside Scripture, which makes it witchcraft. Can you believe it? A sacrament is actually practicing witchcraft? Has anybody ever said that sentence? Or heard it? It's amazing. But any behavior that's not of the will of Yahuwah is witchcraft to him. By your actions, you show your belief, your evidence of your belief. And it's by your actions that you show you deny Yahusha. You can say that you follow him, but by your actions, that's your behavior, you're denying him. That's Titus 1, verse 16. So we have to be careful how we listen, what shepherds we listen to. Our shepherd's voice guides us into truth, not fantasies and pretended artificial constructions. The one they call Kepha, Peter, warned us to be steadfast. He was referring to Amunah, belief, and action, warning us about false shepherds that might twist Scripture, guiding us into darkness and ultimately our destruction. Now that's mentioned at 2 Kepha or 2 Peter chapter 3. In other words, they quote Scripture to prove that you don't have to obey. They lead you into that darkness. The one that we listen to is the one that we trust. You know? The Talmudists are the people who follow the oral traditions in a written way. They read the Talmud. And the Talmud is like the catechism of the Catholics. It's instructions. It means instruction. But it's oral traditions. And it's mixed in with Torah and interpretations. But these people are guided by men's traditions. So you've got tradition. There's no such thing as a scripture of tradition, except the Talmud. And the Talmud is not scripture. Anyway, they share a corresponding position with the church fathers. The church fathers of Catholicism, because they added and took away a great deal. They invented their own imaginary world through allegory. Allegory is like a mystical level, or a ethereal, transcendental approach. I had to look at that interpretation back there. They think of things in a non-real way. It's not reality. It's an invented pretend world of thought. And their teaching authority is defended to the death. It always was. That was what the Inquisition was all about. The people who refused to listen to the teaching authority, they were eliminated. And that's why some 83 million people were killed over 600 years. They were not listening to the teaching authority. And the Nazarene did not listen to their teaching authority. They were hunted. And that's why they were living between the valley walls. They were called Waldensians, the valley dwellers. You know, remember that? Anyway, this teaching authority places itself, or themselves, above all other teaching authorities, and they exterminate anybody that has other ideas. Without the influence of the Talmudists and the catechismists, or the teaching authority of the Catholics, we'd see people walking exactly as Yahusha walked today. If the Nazarene had not been a little flock, but had been empowered to teach people the truth. We aren't forcing anybody to keep the commandments, but we want to teach the commandments so that they understand how to love, because the commandments teach us how to love. See, all 10 of these commandments are just their purpose is to teach us how to love Yahuwah and love our neighbor. But
well, that's a good point. A lot of people feel the frustration of they're comparing with Scripture and wondering why Yahusha doesn't move like he moved back in the Scripture. Why isn't there a massive movement? Why can't Yahusha move faster? Why can't he, particularly those who are sort of trying to do videos and you get that frustration. Why can't he just bring the money? Bring the money. Let's pump this thing out into the world. Let's make it a bigger movement. Let's build it. And you get frustrated and you realize that it's not meant to be a big movement. It's not going to be a big bride. It's not until you come into his will that you realize everything's exactly how it's meant to be, because it is. It has to be, because he's in control, and it is how it is. So it must be how he wants it for now. So our desires have to get out of the way.
Yeah, they're funding a lot of illegal practices, and they don't know it. They think, he wants us to ignore that Torah, and we're not supposed to show our faith by obeying. We're supposed to show our faith by spreading this message of lawlessness, this anti-Torah message. But we'd have to wonder what the world would be like if the Talmudists and the church fathers had never existed. The school at Antioch and the school at Alexandria were completely opposed to each other. The apostles are mentioned in the book of Acts as being in Antioch. That's Macedonia or modern Turkey. And that faded away. But the assembly at what we call the Alexandrian cult was funded by the Roman taxes and, the whole thing. But the church fathers were the Alexandrian cult at the catechetical school of Alexandria. Hardly anybody knows that Christianity started there. That's where it started. And the school of Antioch just faded away.
Yeah. The whole cult thing is funny. We get called, we get told we're in a cult all the time.
Oh, we're in the cult. Yeah, the cult is the big, broad road.
Yeah.
The big, broad road is the cult.
Yeah.
It is, if we use it in a negative sense. It just means culture, you know, because the teaching authority is the culture.
I had a client the other day who was about to come and get her hair done, and her friend said to her, "Are you going to see Mark at the Atherton hairdressers?" She said, "Yeah." "Oh, don't go there. They're all in a cult." She said, "What's that all about?" I said, "Yeah, come through. We're sacrificing a bull out the back. You know, it's ridiculous."
Yeah, they got that school of Antioch going on over there, you know.
Yeah, it was pagan witchcraft. Oh, it's ridiculous. We had a good laugh. But I explained to her, you know what a cult is, don't you? If you look up the definition of a cult, Catholicism and Christianity most certainly fit the bill. You know, like it's safety in numbers.
Yeah.
It's not it's just normal people, mate.
Well, the original Nazarene founded the culture at Antioch, you know. But they weren't funded. But they've got that tithing thing going on. But don't keep Sabbath or eat pigs and all. That's fine. But don't obey the commandments. But go ahead and tithe. What? What is that about? You know. Well, it's all because they were getting the Roman fiscus Judaicus, the tax on all the people that practice Torah. The Roman institution, magisterium, taxed the people that kept Torah and took that money and sent it to the temple of, Jupiter, and then it was disseminated into the cult of paganism, and the school of Alexandria was supported in large part by the Yahudim who were paying this tax, and it gave birth to what we call Christianity. And anyway, it was their own wealth that did it. The temple was destroyed in 70 CE, and the wealth of the temple was taken back to Rome, and they built 2 arches, one for Titus and one for Vespasian, his father, and then they built the Roman Colosseum. And it was all on the back of all this gold and stuff that they carried back. But absolutely nothing that it was commanded by Yahuwah was or is actually promoted by this magisterium that became Christianity. He did not command them to do a single thing that they practiced. And that was admitted on the radio 30-something years ago when I was listening to it, and I was awakening to this fact that a pastor was on the radio saying that nothing we do was ever commanded by Yahuwah. It's all tradition. And instead, they're following pagan customs. And here's some of them. Sunday. Steeples, pillars, stupas, obelisks, bells, vestments of the Mithraic priesthood. That's the Dagon mitre, the stoles, and the augury staves that they wear. They have these little things that have to do with birds, That's what that curled thing is that you see these Catholic bishops holding. It's actually from a pagan thing about birds, watch the birds and that'll tell us stuff. Well, how about holy water? Well, that comes from the Ganges, Eastern mysticism. The Ganges river water was considered sacred. Hindu Gnosticism is what it is. How about the Queen of Heaven? That's actually attributed to, that's in Scripture, but it's something that is not what the Catholics are calling it. But the Queen of Heaven is mentioned in Scripture. But that's the problem. Making birthday cakes for the Queen of Heaven. Putting candles on with horoscope concepts of astrology and witchcraft. And blowing out candles and making wishes to genies that rise up to the heavens. That's not coming from Scripture. We teach our children these things. How about Yule logs and mistletoe, which I heard on the radio just day before yesterday. Someone was talking about the plant mistletoe being a poisonous plant, and the Druids used it for their purposes for fertility. Then there's beads and counting prayers, repetitive prayers, and on rosaries. Where's that in Scripture? Well, how about weeping for Tammuz, which is actually now the 40-day fast called Lent, which is a word that refers to the lengthening of the days as the spring approaches. The lengthening of days was called Lent. And ashes on your forehead. Well, Hindus were doing that long ago. It's part of that Gnosticism. Putting ashes on your forehead and putting a symbol of Tammuz on there as well. People don't know that the crux symbol is the solar item. I mean, it is the thing that all the pagans used as a symbol for their sun worship. And it was brought in during the 4th century, the late 4th century. Fertility symbols extend to trees, which are phalluses, ornaments, which are testicles, and of course tinsel, the semen. The wreath is the vagina, and the ribbon, of course, is the fresh birth canal bleeding, I guess. Then you've got the rabbits, the eggs, and the fish, which are all fertility symbols. Statue veneration. I'm not done yet. Celibacy. Yeah, right. Like celibacy is in Scripture.
Where's that?
What?
Where's that at?
Hey,
forget that.
How about saying magic words like, what do they call it? Hoc est corpus meum. This is my body. This is my body. What? Well, aren't we his body? The ones that he indwells. The object that they kneel down to in the monstrance is a round solar disc, Egyptian-looking thing, with a moon under it, actually. But what do they say? What's the magic words? What are the magic words? And I don't mean please. I mean, they say hocus pocus, which is derived from hoc est corpus meum. Then we have something that we can't find in Scripture called monks. Where are they found? Well, they're found in Hinduism. Nuns, same way. Popes, well, the Caesar was always the Papa, the patriarch, in Nazi Germany, they called him the Führer, the Pope. Well, the head of the empire. Crux symbols are solar icons from Babel's Talmuds, and it became incorporated into sun worship. The sacraments are imaginary dispensation of favors through a priesthood, indulgences for time off in a non-existent place called purgatory. We're not making much up, are we? How about venial sins as opposed to mortal sins? Well, the venial sins, you go to the purgatory, but the mortal sins, you go straight to hell. Well, they're making that stuff up. But anyway, indulgences, and the sale of indulgences is still going on, and if you become a Twitter follower of the Pope, you get time off in purgatory. And a distorted version of Passover, which is expressed in a bloodless sacrifice, and we know that without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness of sins. But they've got this thing called a bloodless sacrifice, called the Mass, and it's kind of a distortion of Passover, which is only done once a year, observed once a year, in remembrance of his death. You don't remember his death every day or every week. You only do it once a year, in the proper time. Otherwise, it's witchcraft, because it's rebellion. It's something he did not order. Then you've got this thing called sunrise services. And then what's the sunrise services about? Well, they say it's about the resurrection. But in fact, it's more about Easter, which is actually the name of the Earth Mother. Easter. Anybody can look this up. it's a confusion of first fruits is what it really is, because first fruits is what Yahusha was fulfilling when he resurrected, and it wasn't at sunrise. It was actually at sunset, and he was just seen for the first time at dawn, a little before dawn. But Yahusha's resurrection fulfilled the early harvest called Bikurim. And December 25th was the original Nautilus Sol Invictus, the birth of the sun. And it was confused in the year 525 with the so-called birthday of Yahusha, who was actually born around 4 to 5 BCE during Sukkoth, or Tabernacles. It was in the fall. It was in the 7th month. And it was all these things were done to concentrate power in the teaching authority of the clergy over the nobility and the laity, which are the two other estates. You've got the clergy and the nobility and the commoners, the laity, the lay people. And they invented new dogmas all over the place, just all through time, to continue in some power play, to keep control. And they were all invented out of imaginations. And not a single thread of truth remains. Everything that is done and seen is not what Yahuwah ordered. It was cleansed of everything. Now, billions are following a religion of men's traditions based on pagan practices. What do you think that's going to? You think that's going to get them into any trouble with the Creator?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think so. The sign of the eternal covenant, it's called the eternal covenant, is forgotten. It's the 7th day of the week called Shabbat, the 7th day. It actually means 7. And teachers or people that tell the truth, the teachers that are telling the truth, are still a little flock, but the broad path is well funded with a misused tithe that's intended to go to the widow, the fatherless, the foreigner, and the priesthood of Yisrael, or Israel. Not the state of Israel, though. We're not talking about the state of Israel. We're talking about Israel as anyone who's in the covenants, keeping the commandments. If you're keeping these commandments, you're automatically in Israel. You enter Israel, the Commonwealth of Israel, by immersion. Now, we Nazarene are of the Melchizedek priesthood, and Yahusha is our high priest. We reject the church fathers. We reject them as a teaching authority. Our teaching authority is one man, who is also the Creator, Yahusha. He's our teaching authority. And he's the one that gives us authority. Yahusha was asked by the people who were to become the Talmudists, the rabbis, by what authority do you do these things? Meaning what he was saying and teaching. By what teaching authority do you do these things? That's what they were asking. And he said, well, by whose authority did Yahukin and the immerser immerse? And they kind of hesitated about it, and they stopped asking me questions. Well, we obey the commandments, and we reject the church fathers, and we hold to the testimony of Yahusha. So in chapters 12 and 14 of Revelation, you can see us identified as the first fruits. That we trust only in his written word, that he's revealed through us. And the people that teach his word, we learn from those people, And here they are. Number 1 is, I am Yahuwah your Elohim. Have no other before my face. Number 2, you do not bow to images. Number 3, you do not cast the name of Yahuwah your Elohim to ruin. We don't lay it waste. We use the name with great respect. Number 4 is remember Shabbat, to keep it set apart. Now that's not just, the moon's not involved. It's the 7th day of every week. It's a repeating cycle. Number 5, now these begin the list of how to love our neighbor. The first 4 are how to love Yahuwah. Now, respect your father and your mother. Number 6, you do not murder. Number 7, you do not break wedlock. Number 8, you do not steal. Number 9, you do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Number 10, You do not covet your neighbor's wife, house, field, servants, animals, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. Love one another as I have loved you. And when we see the purpose of these commandments, it empowers us to do them and act on them. And that way we're steadfast and nobody can trick us. And if they start handing us a rosary or telling us that a sacrament exists that helps us in some way, then we know that that's witchcraft. We know it is. But the church fathers are the beginning of all these problems, you know. So we reject the church fathers. Anyway, that's basically some of the things that I put in this book. It's either truth or it's tradition, and they're both opposed to one another. You know, I don't know. It's hard to see when you're in the mind of the flesh, because all you see is not, you don't see from Yahusha's perspective. You're looking at it from your own, and you know, and that's what our biggest problem is. We're led by the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, which basically is what you set your heart on, your desires for pleasure, and your desire for possessions, and your desire for position and rank. You know, and we see a lot of people among the Nazarene that are fighting to become the teaching authority. Our teaching authority comes from Yahusha. Only Yahusha. And Yahusha in us is the one that bears fruit on the branches. And when we see the branches with the Nazarene bearing the fruit of love, he's looking for love, then the fruit is going to be there and it's going to identify the tree. But if you don't see the fruit of love and you're looking at some other fruit that's not love, then you're looking at a branch that's not of his tree. I don't know how clear we can make it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Pride of life, lust of the flesh, and position, was it?
Yeah, flesh, eyes, and pride.
Yeah.
It's flesh is the pleasure that we seek, and if we're in the flesh, and the eyes see possessions, you know, and that's what the eye goes for. It looks for treasure. The third one is pride, and that is position. In other words, the rabbis were uplifting themselves. They were self-exalting. That's what rab means in Hebrew, is to exalt or lift up. And rabbi means my exalted one. We only have one rabbi, one teaching authority. And the rabbis were making everyone believe that they were the teaching authority. And that's why they were in competition with Yahusha. And that's why they said, this one teaches as if he has authority, not like these other people who were pretending to have authority. And they detected it. The people heard it. They felt it. They said, this is spiritual. This is something really powerful. And that's the distinction that the people themselves were seeing. They said, these people are teaching Torah and teaching all these oral traditions, but they don't teach with the authority that this one man has. They could see it. And they said, wow, he teaches as if one who has authority. I mean, he's possessing the authority of heaven and earth. And that's the teaching authority that we rest on. That's the one that keeps us steady. And that's where we get amunah, steadfastness. We live by our amunah. That's what the prophets said. We live by our belief, but our belief is manifested in our actions, what we actually do. You know. So we're really on a firm foundation because we're on his teachings. The Torah is our foundation. He's the living Torah. And when he came in the flesh, he spoke that and acted it. And people, they said, wow, this is amazing. And that's the one that we have a connection with. You know, all we have to do is, like you said earlier, is keep our eyes fixed on him and tap in on that power source. He's our assurance.
Yeah, we've got to be careful.
Our object.
Got to be careful because that's like a behavior, the whole rabbi thing. It's easy to look at the rabbis and preachers and pastors. They've got billboards and flashing signs making us look at them. But that whole behaviour of wanting to be the centre of attention, wanting to be lifted up, wanting others to look at us rather than us focus on other people, that's a toxic behaviour. It's very easy to come into all of us. The pride of life, lust of the eyes, the position, that's something that we all struggle with, something that we all trying to put off. Being in a hurry, wanting to achieve in life, things that, and probably even Scripture encourages to be wise as wise stewards, trading, getting ahead, being wise. If we run with it at our own pace, it can be really dangerous. You can take your eyes off Yahusha in order to do something that initially isn't a bad thing. But if we're trying to be in such a hurry, which, we all are, why won't this move faster? Why can't we build this business up and get ahead? Why can't we? We have these thoughts. I look at it. I think I'm nearly 40 years old. I've achieved nothing. I've got nothing. You have these thoughts. In the middle of all this wonderful teaching, you have these experiences in your life, and it's all meant to be. Yahusha's got us working in the world for a reason. He hasn't showered us all with lots and lots of money because he knows we couldn't be trusted with it. We're all, idiots, really. This is all our training ground, I guess. So that behaviour of being exalted and lifted up and not forgetting about yourself and looking at other people, like you said in the beginning, every day somebody needs to be encouraged, and we should be living like it's our last day. Who thinks like that? This is
not many.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you, what is the picture behind us here?
That's I don't even know what. I don't even know what it is. Do you know what country we're in?
Well, was it that picture that you showed me?
Yes.
It looked like a big dome.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of big like blocks.
Yeah.
Well, they were asking Yahusha when the Nazarene disciples were with Yahusha and they were going through the temple area, and they said, "Look at these massive stones. Look how important this place is." And he said, "Oh, that? Well, you know what? Every one of these things is like nothing at all. In fact, they're all going to be taken down, every single stone." And that happened in 70 CE when the gold was melting and it was running down into the cracks. The soldiers were taking the stones apart to get at it. Well, all this stuff is all part of the lust of the eyes and the pride of life, and the teaching authority was all built up. Herod was all about building. You heard about the building projects of Herod. And it was all basically to make him important, that position in life. He had all these other places like Maharis and that place, can't think of the word, but it's, he had all these fortresses that were built around Masada. That's it. Most people have heard of Masada. It was actually a little fortress that was a little getaway place for him. And they were on high places where you could see these sites from dozens of miles away, and they could signal people with smoke and fire to let people know certain signals that armies were coming or whatever. They didn't have cell phones. But anyway, it's all about belief and action tied to the belief. But you've got to be tapped into the proper teaching authority, the shepherd, the one shepherd, and trust. It looks like we're going into a dark place. That's okay, though, because he's with us. He's right there. Keep your eyes on him. Listen to his voice. We're going into a darker place. Doesn't matter. This is okay. He's right there. He's got his staff with him. Yeah. So if any animals or evil is hiding there, we're going to be okay. He's going to pull us through.
Yeah.
Take every thought captive.
Yeah. So many of us have been raised in religion where Everything is looked at negatively. If something happens in your life, or there's a test or a trial or a sickness or a devastation or anything, you must have done something wrong. So we look at it and we're thinking, oh, we're being punished. We're being punished. Like it's not everything is like that. It could be a training exercise. It is. Yeah, he's molding us. It's really important the way we think. And I was taught for 20 years and didn't believe it, that it's about the way you think. I thought, I can think however I want. And it's my head, my thoughts. I'll have it to myself, thanks. But it's not, it really is where it's at. Because what you think and what you believe, as a man thinks in his heart, so he shall be. That's how he will behave. So
Hebrews 11.
Yeah, it really does stem from how you think. You can't have your thoughts to yourself. You can't entertain all these fascinations and imaginations and then be fake. Some people can, but at the end of the day, your behavior will not be correct. You really have to change the way you think. You do have to check your thoughts. You do have to not think negative. Not listen, not even entertain unclean spirits, because they grab hold of you. They grab hold of your neck, and then they give you more thoughts and more thoughts and more thoughts, and then you just want to go and kill yourself. It's like, yeah, it really is a vicious spiral. You've got to cut it off at the head. Don't even entertain it. Anything negative. Don't think anything negative about the brothers and sisters, particularly in the assembly, particularly other Natsurim. You don't, you can't judge other people. You've really got to behave, otherwise you feel dreadful.
I was going to mention one thing that you reminded me of, and I don't know how this relates exactly, but the credentials that people ask each other. What are your credentials? They've been asking me that, and I'm sure you've been asked that. What are your credentials? How do you know that you have the authority to say the things that you're saying? Well, our credentials are Yahusha's credentials, and because he speaks through his servants. And we don't have to go to a man's school or seminary to have credentials and say, well, we completed these courses of study in order to think like the church fathers. That's exactly what they're saying. All the credentials that's why they can't get to the truth. They search the scriptures, but they can't find the truth because they're blinded by their studies that have inoculated them against the truth. But the simple truth is obedience, action. Do these words. And I think the one they call Joshua, whose real name is Yahusha, the successor of Musha, he said something I quoted in one of the first pages of this book. Do not let this book of the Torah depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it Yom and Lila, so that you guard to do according to all that is written in it. For then you shall make your way prosperous and act wisely. Act. So the written word is meant to be put into action. And that's what he says in another way. Meditate on it so that you guard to do according to all that is written in it. And then you shall act wisely. I like that. It isn't going to change. The truth is unalterable. It's always reality. It's reality. It's not religion. It's not imagination. It's not a pretend world. We're not watching a play where, well, if you're in religion, you're watching all this pretend stuff and imaginary stuff going on. You might as well be watching Spock talk on his communicator, and he's not talking to anybody. He's just talking to a chunk of nothing. That they're pretending that things are happening, but it's not happening. They're actors, and that's the thing about these masqueraders that are out there, the false shepherds, the teachers that are saying that's not for you to obey. Well, where's that written exactly? Do you have something? It is written. This is not for you to obey. No. That's all church father stuff. I've got the credentials from this seminary. Yeah, you sure do. It's very apparent. You
It's
know?
obvious. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big theatre production, isn't it? They the smoke and music, and it's the pretty pass the plate around, and
Doers of the word are not doers of traditions.
no.
We're different. Yeah.
Mm. So being Nazarene and following Torah is really about lifestyle.
It's about our true teaching authority.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is our teaching authority? When Peter was sinking into the water and Yahusha was holding his hand to pull him up, he was safer with him than those other guys were in that boat. It's a funny thing.
We really need to tap into that, don't we?
Yeah.
All Nazarene need to just tap into that. Come boldly. Come to me, you who are heavy laden and burdened. Come and I give you rest. Just come to me. You don't have to earn your stripes. You don't have to, just come to me. Come boldly into the throne room. We don't take that right. We're his children. He's bought us with a price, and we don't talk to him. It's stupid. We don't come because we're ashamed, or we think we've got to be something first or achieve something first. It's stupid. Just come to me. Yeah.
Just be available to him for his use, and he will take a hold of you. And the purposes that he sent you forth into the world will be manifested, and he'll make use of you. You're not using him. He's using you.
Just have it. Have him.
Yeah.
Let him have you. That's amazing, brother.
Yeah, it's true. It was your idea.
It was Yahusha's idea.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go. Now you do.
Well, it's because of what I went through earlier in the week. Right in the middle of what I was going through, Phyllis sends one through. It says, "What do you think the topic should be?" So, how would I know? Just think, this is what I'm going through.
The teaching authority coming from him is so important, because I've always realized that whatever he was teaching me is what I had to teach others. And he's teaching it. It's through us, his people, not just you and me. I'm not that crazy. But the fact that when you hear his voice in a teacher, then you go, hey, you know what? That's going to always be true. And I'm going to stick with that. That's something that, you always quote the word, and then you're on a firm foundation. But, when you start imagining things, things are coming, and, signs that people are interpreting and things. Well, you have to watch out for that, Especially when they mix Babylon into it, Babylonian customs. But what I said earlier, he gave me earlier in the week, probably about the same time that you were receiving this information. And that is that every single thing that is practiced is not of him. Therefore, it's witchcraft. Because it's men's traditions, and it's not his. It's not anything that he ordered us to do in the Word. But his Word is very easy, and it's understandable. The purpose of it, it's love.
Wow.
Well,
that's been amazing, brother.
It has. It's really been fun seeing you. After all it's only been 2 weeks, but and they're going to have trouble, with this too. The truth is, the name is Yahuwah, and this is the same 3 letters, Yahusha, and it's the same person. It's the same being. There's not 2 of him. This is him, his name as our deliverer. That's what it means. I am, or Yah, your deliverer. And he's our teaching authority.
You've repackaged fossilized as well, I saw. That was very nice.
I'm working on it now, and I'm going through, and there's going to be probably over 600 pages because I'm adding a lot, and I'm also improving it and eliminating some of the unnecessary commentary that I put in. You know, it was just taking up space, but it's still going to be over 600 pages.
Making it
You
big.
know, it's probably a month and a half away, maybe 2 months.
Very exciting.
So, yeah, it'll be Fossilized Customs 12th edition.
12th edition.
So did you see the cover I sent?
Yeah, it was. You've simplified it. It pops. That's great.
Yeah, I've got a couple of serpents coming up with their venom, dumping into a silhouette of a gold cup. It's actually it's a black cup, but the serpents are wrapped around it, and they're dumping their teachings into this cup. You know, and the Fossilized Customs are poisoning the world. Yeah.
Well, it's very exciting, brother. Love chatting. It's time that all of us wake up and just stop looking at the storm. Focus on Yahusha. He's got us in his hand. He's what? How do you say it? We're his treasure. We're his treasure.
We're his treasure. Yeah. His treasured possession, Malachi chapter 3. And his first fruits. If you keep his commandments and you hold to the testimony of Yahusha, you are the bride. And the bride is not a very large group. They don't understand. You know, the Christians are saying we're the bride, but do you keep the commandments? No, we're told not to. Well, then that eliminates you. But you might be friends of the bride. You might be in the second resurrection 1,000 years after the wedding supper. Is that what you want? You know.
Well, you have a wonderful week, brother. That was amazing.
Well, you as well. And I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Week after next.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, I love you.
Yeah, love you too. Thinking of you.
Love everybody. Thank you.
See you later, mate.
We'll see you next time. All right, bye.